I'm Rhonda Barrett, a grad student at Shippensburg University's Social Work and Gerontology department, and I'm reporting on my reflections for human behavior in the social environment too, on readings for this week um, that I found to have a theme of power in positive regard. Payne uh, talked to talks about attachment theory and explains how childhood experiences can set up behaviors and adaptations that then are taken forward into adulthood. So, a secure, safe sense of being and being responded to as a child develops an adult who feels safe to interact with the world, even though it may be chaotic at times. But the child that experienced maybe a negative or insecure environment may come up with behaviors that help them survive, but then in adulthood might not necessarily be appropriate responses to the reality of what's going on around them. Our class discussion involved us sharing examples, our own examples of this. And one of my takeaways for the week was the challenge that Dr. Benbow proposed, which was, do we see these adaptations as negative, or can we instead look at them as meaningful? And I took that to mean that they did a job. They served us well. They helped us to survive when we were young. So can we transform our relationship with them in the present, even though they may be disruptive or causing us problems? Can we bring that appreciation of the meaning to it to then help us navigate changing around the edges or changing our relationship with it to be more productive in the present? Uh, the other main chapter in Pain was a discussion of humanistic practice. And the humanistic perspective talks about how a belief that people try to make sense of their world. They try to give things meaning. They try to understand a purpose to things and their own purpose. And this gives them, through rational thought, an ability to make choices to interact with and respond to events and make choices that will hopefully lead to things in the future that they're seeking. So this approach does not focus on, per se, a problem. This focuses on really integrating a life view that problems will happen, problems will keep happening. Or as a therapist I had once said, life will be lifey and throw new things at you. But can you develop a worldview and a view of your place in it that makes you feel confident in your ability to navigate whatever may come? Uh, so, a takeaway I had from this was that as social workers, is there an optimism that we can express uh, about our clients' abilities to do this for themselves and to form this understanding for themselves? The chapter talked about this idea of unconditional positive regard. So that's what I linked it to, like the belief in them that they can do it. They can learn about themselves and their place in a world in a way that they feel empowered to be active in their lives. This to me links to the social work code of ethics and the idea of self-determination. So this humanistic discussion helped me to I'll bring a lot of that to my uh, trying to implement that idea in practice, that belief in the client and their sense of agency, supporting their sense of agency. Some people may use spirituality to make sense of the world. The Jasmine Amma video talked about it being a useful tool for people, and that it's not religion. Religion's a set of rules, where spirituality is you put together a version of things that make sense to you, that support you. I know it's important to know your own relationship with your spirituality, whether it's positive or negative, so that you don't bring those things to the table and disrupt a client's ability to sort those things out or express those things for themselves. And even if they may have a label for their spirituality that you're familiar with, not to swoop in with assumptions about what that means, since it is so personal and individualized. So don't alienate them with, oh, you must mean this, and here's how we can apply it, but really allow clients to guide that. As a hospice volunteer, the chaplain who trained us in preparing us to go and sit with families dealing with end of life, he asked the trainees what was the most common religion in our county, and his answer was make up your own religion. So that was his same point about do not make assumptions. So for me, part of that in practice and imagining that is not swooping in with platitudes, at the end of life, it was making us aware of like, oh, don't worry, they'll be going to a better place. They'll be relieved of the pain. That they'll be better off. You don't know how it's rattling around in this person or what their larger beliefs are of how it's going to work out. And that idea to me links to the Brene Brown video about empathy. I felt that video was talking about not swooping in with platitudes when someone is going through something. So then, that it causes like hand wringing about like, well, then what am I supposed to do? And uh, she talked about offering presence is probably the most important thing, that the person does not need to be alone with what they're experiencing. You can validate their feelings and their experiences. That must be hard. I hear what you're saying. That sounds very difficult. Uh, so thinking about this in practice for myself and working in elder care, because I knew this idea of not swooping in with platitudes. I think I did a good job in my placement last year in not saying things or filling in blanks for people when they were expressing distress or concerns about end of life. But this discussion from this week and this idea of positive regard for our clients and belief in their abilities, I want to explore more ways that when they're engaged in that kind of uh, space and expressing those kinds of concerns, is there a way I can support them to have more courage to keep exploring their thoughts about it and talk more about it, so maybe they can hear themselves making sense of it for themselves. So, yes, I think I stayed in a very, very neutral position, but is there a way I can be more supportive of them continuing talking their way through it and navigating their way through to a sense of things that gives them some peace and sense of security. And so that's the other sort of tie back that I have for this week, going back to the idea of attachment. It's in those kinds of moments where if we didn't have that kind of safety and sense of security from when we were young, we might not know how to generate it immediately for ourselves when we're vulnerable. But I think the cues from the empathy video also point to that same idea of offering presence and validating experiences, but not having to feel on the hook for providing answers. These are my references, and thank you for your attention.